Found, but how have we found the IQ gene? So you tell me we found the IQ gene. So like, what are you talking about?
Okay, so let me try to understand so you can explain. So IQ is a metric, right? It's actually what's called a G-loaded factor test. What it's doing is it's trying to say what we loosely call in culture intelligence. Can I find a series of tests for which any behavior can be put in and all other behaviors can be factored out?
Content over everything!
There are only 14 such factors mathematically that contribute to what's called G, and if I produce all the factor analysis, nothing is excluded. Okay. So mathematically you say, you're smart because you can add up numbers, you're smart because you can reverse digits, you're smart because you can manipulate objects, you're smart because you can do this. But if all those activities and put them in and factor them bottom up, only 14 variables exist, and the single metric that weights it is called G.
But can you not train yourself to be better at IQ tests?
I didn't talk about that. First, now we understand what we're speaking about as IQ.
No, I understand. I've done loads and loads of IQ tests, so I understand the concepts of the questions and different types of things.
So now that we have a model of IQ as a metric, as a loose old term, right? Because obviously to understand it deeper, you must go into subcomponents. If we look at IQ as a single number, then what we notice is that no individuals, forget race, individuals don't have the same IQ. So with the bell curve of the whole planet, some people are thicker than others.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we first accept that all chimps, all 7 billion of us, have IQ in a curve. We know what IQ is.
Okay.
Nothing contentious to date. Everyone knows someone's smarter, dumber than themselves.
But here's the thing.
So wait a second, let me finish my argument. So in the IQ distribution of the curve, we now notice the entire global planet has an IQ curve. And it's a bell curve with a heavy top end weight. Then I look at other variations between men and women in IQ. There is, but it's tiny. Men and women have the same IQ, but there's more geniuses in men and more idiots in men. So the IQ curve for men and women is. If you look at races, we see 6 phase shifted bell curve, and this is just observation.
But okay.
Right, so it's just observation. I'm drawing no moral, social, political conclusions. I'm observing them in science. I've defined IQ. I've told you what IQ is. I can see IQ distribution, chimps, and I can see them across gender and race.
Okay, but do you
disagree with any of that?
No, I don't disagree.
But you're welcome to our side.
But you've not proved with what you're saying that it is based in your genes.
Correct. No, we know what it is. No,
it can still be cultural.
Okay, so let's say that bit. So the hereditary of genes, the best set of studies we have, put a varying estimate of how much is hereditary. So I think of genetics, and I explain the genetics to people who don't understand it, as a sliding scale. Nothing is 100% genetic or zero.
Of course.
Nothing is 100% environmental.
Of course.
Every phenomenon has a sliding balance.
Yeah.
IQ has a balance. The lowest estimate is 30%, the highest is 80%, and it's hereditary. So when two people mate, they pass on a genetic code to the IQ, and then that person's up to go in their environment. The gene has lost control. Next time they mate, the IQ passes on. Next time they mate. So could IQs change? You have the notorious Flynn effect. So you look at the Flynn effect and it says, hey, there's an IQ change of people depending on their environments. We'd expect that in biology. We'd expect the change of IQ, right? And IQ has a genetic component too. So the answer is there's a genetic and an environmental component. It evolves over time and it can change. And currently in the year of our Lord 2019 in this hallowed ground, we know what the IQ distributions on the planet are, and they're not equal. That's all we make this claim, right?
So do you think that we should be basing policy on this bell curve?
Absolutely.
And in what sense?
Okay, so let me take an example of a taboo topic for the left or the liberals. So let's look at black crime. So if you control for black crime, right, so what do? The largest meta-analysis studies in the US for the data based on 50 years of genetic studies. Do you know what the single biggest causing factor for crime is?
Poverty?
No, not at all. It doesn't show up in the paper.
Aggression? No.
I'll show you
You're talking bullshit.
No.
But why are they aggressive?
No. Forget race. Forget race. Within the culture. Within a mono-racial society.
You talked a lot, so let me speak.
You take your time, man.
So you kind of... Where I'm coming from is everything is a cause and effect, and it sounds like you are stopping at the cause as the initial point of entry where it suits your argument. They're aggressive, but why are certain people more aggressive than others? It's more cultural, and it goes further and further
If you
back.
agree, which you just did earlier before.
You're telling me now that black people are naturally
I didn't
more
say anything about
aggressive.
black people.
We were talking about black people.
Okay, no, I was going to explain it from. So if I was explaining this to a first-year undergrad or university people, I'm trying to explain this phenomena. I do it by using a multi-story building. I look at a social phenomenon at the top, like I could choose divorce instead of crime, if that makes it easier. I look at a social phenomena, and say that social phenomena is the interaction by definition of chimps. So there's a cultural environmental issue. Then I look at one chimp, and what do I know? I know his behaviors are only 5-dimensional expressions plus IQ. But how does he behave what he does? I look at his hormone levels in his endocrinology, and the endocrinology inside him. Because remember, the building stories above we're talking about, we haven't denied them.
Yeah. So I'm going down to the bottom floor, and you're going down to level 6.
I'm starting to. I can go up and down either way you want me.
You're starting from the
listen
top,
to the story,
and you're stopping at level 6.
I can start from the bottom.
Where I'm going all the way to the bottom.
You haven't heard me finish.
No, hold
you
on.
Haven't let me finish the story. You haven't let me finish the story.
So
I can return the story later, but the story will remain the same.
So do you not think that certain people will be more aggressive if they've suffered such hardships through the centuries?
So let's explain that away.
So including the Irish that you were mentioning earlier.
Would you like me to explain that away? So if you look at the story there, so we have the stories of phenomena like crime, it could be divorce. Underneath that, we know there must be a social science explanation, because society is the interaction of chimps. Underneath the interaction of chimp, there's a chimp. That one chimp has a biology. Inside that biology and psychology, he has hormones, endocrinology, which can then be traced to his genetic code. So let's have a look. What is the phenomenon of crime? Not black crime, just crime. Crime, the biggest meta-analysis study shows poverty, crime, relating, none of them statistically predict crime or black crime.
So
what does?
Well, I can show you studies, because I disagree with that point. I can show you studies where countries where the inequality is less, there is less crime, and that goes for Scandinavia, Australia, New Zealand, and places like that.
Let's return to that for a second.
So you're telling me that there is...
I'm looking at the largest known data sets.
But you told me that there was no link to poverty and crime.
No, but I'm trying to explain this to you.
I'm saying there is a link.
Correct. Okay.
Because
so again, let me reinforce. If you have your phone, I can pull them out for you. The largest studies of meta-analysis data studies show that the biggest explanatory power for sociological crime for 11 dimensions cannot explain the data of crime. What does explain the data of crime is aggression.
Where does that aggression come from?
Let me finish. Allow me, because it's a story that obviously you're not very familiar with the data. So if aggression's a crime, if it took an all-white society, or an all-Afghani society, or if I took an all-Ethiopian society, I would see aggression levels cause crime. So what is the cause of aggression? Aggression is simply measured by the level of your cortisol versus your epinephrine.
So you're telling me that if
I don't know how much scientific knowledge you have. Baby, second. No, you're
all
confusing.
down to my biology and not to what's made me aggressive.
No, this is
aggressively.
No, this is a mistake when you confuse one individual for a population.
No, you're just stopping at level 6 where it suits your argument.
I can't carry on because you keep stopping me.
No, you are stopping.
But you keep stopping me. I'm not stopping myself.
So you're at level 6. Go on.
So if you look at the things, how do we know
this? Where does
this?
the aggression come from?
So how do we know this? So we know if you look at cortisol levels and epinephrine, women have a 50% or 45% less level of that. Women are not representing aggressive crime anywhere. Epinephrine and cortisol.
Women can be aggressive.
Okay, let me just try to run through the thread. Of course, again, you must confuse the difference between a population and an individual.
No, but you keep jumping.
Your mind keeps jumping.
You keep saying absolute. You said women aren't.
No, I'm talking about data sets. I'm talking about data. I'm talking about
data.
Data.
Less.
I'm talking about data sets, and you keep saying, but one population item can't be. But one can't be. I'm not. You have to clear your mind and think of a statement about a population.
You need to be clearer with your speech.
I'm trying here. A statement about a population of n variables is not a statement about any one variable. Right? Are we clear? So if you look at it now, I look at the levels of the hormones.
This is where the racism comes in, because it's a generalization. I'm not calling you racist, but
everyone is racist. It's wired into your genetics.
I'm not racist.
But that you think you're not, because you've been socially conditioned.
How am I racist? Explain to me what I've ever said.
I mean, if you want to finish this part of the conversation, we can jump out of the box and randomly jump around.
I need to stop you at certain points.
But it's fascinating we haven't gone down the building yet.
If I don't agree with if I don't agree with the premise, then we have to stop there and deal with that premise.
I will reiterate myself, I'm patient, again. At the top, we have a phenomenon like crime at a social level. Crime is interaction of multiple chimps. The multiple chimps must be behaviorally one chimp, your individual chimp, I'm an individual chimp. Inside that chimp, science tells me I must be expressing my behavior through my hormone system, which is traced to a gene set. We have only got 3 levels down the building. So if you look at crime, we take the social factors out because they're not predictive, and we end up with the single biggest factor is aggression. Nothing about white, nothing about black, nothing about Afghanis, nothing about people from Mogadishu. Now we're saying, what is the cause of just aggression? How do we know what we do? We can take chimps in the womb, we can take rats in the womb, and we can inject them with cortisol. You inject the females with cortisol, out they come, they're more aggressive than the males. So we have a scientific predictor that says cortisol and epinephrine are the two levels. Look around society, oh, women have low levels, blacks have higher levels. What is the cause of epinephrine? And the other, you look down and you say, hi, there are 11 genes that code for this, 4 of them are copying gene errors, the others are replication. All I am saying, and the only thing I am saying, is for each of such things, there is a trace down, either down the building of the story or up the building again. That is the foundations of neo-reactionary science.
So you're telling me that black people are inherently more violent genetically?
Correct.
And there is no cultural basis for that aggression to have developed.
Everything has a slider.
But yeah, exactly. So like, I believe in cause and effect. So you're telling me that the IQ. People in the West have been educated. The schools are,
but they're not hereditary genes.
No. So we've been educated earlier, so our genes get switched on or whatever.
That's not hereditary. Right?
No, but then it gets passed on after a gene has been switched on.
There's no gene for education, right? It's a social phenomenon.
So you just told me that black people. So we inherit our genes.
Yeah. Right. By replication.
So you're telling me it's a random chance that mutation that white people.
So what is the model? What is the model of a chimp? You have a 20,000 gene string.
It's interesting that you keep saying chimps. We're different from
that
chimps.
Brings everyone down to the same level.
No, that's
right.
human.
Black or white or race, you're all chimps. It's a universal Christian law.
Humans.
Okay, I like chimp. It's quite nice, right? So of all the chimps, if you look at it, we have a 20,000 genetic code.
But the thing is, if you call a black person a chimp, that's quite offensive. So it sounds.
I have a lot of black friends I call chimps.
No, I know, but like, why can't we just say humans and be exact in our speech?
To each their own. Right. So if you look at that code, what do we know about human behavioral biology? If you perform massive data scale analysis of behaviors, we know that all human beings have only 5 dimensions of behavior plus IQ. There's nothing else. Everyone occupies a position in a 5-dimensional scale. Are you introverted, extroverted? Are you open or you closed? Are you anxious or you're not anxious? And every human being has his own unique value in a 5-dimensional space plus IQ. Statistical factor analysis tells us there's nothing else. So if I had to write a computer program, because I've spent 4 decades as a theoretical computer scientist, if you try to create a computing model of a chimp, all I need is 5 dimensions of behavior plus IQ. That does not say that this chimp, when I drop him into the corner, is going to behave a certain way. It just says he has a predisposition to that behavior. If I took a shy person, a quiet, introspective person, he's going to behave differently than this person. This person is going to show high extroverted behavior. This person is going to show introverted behavior. You have one of your introversion extroversion scales is on a dimension. There are 5 such dimensions. If I perform statistical factor analysis, study after study shows, except for IQ, there's nothing else. So here's my model of a chimp. Some chimps are going to be, I'm going to fuck you up. My good friend Omar is going to come there going, because he has high alpha testosterone, he's an alpha boy. He's going to come at me. Other people are going to be calm and still. There's nothing other than a 5-dimensional expression plus your IQ that models you. Next question down is, where is the biological basis for this? It is genetic and your hormones.
So why did we evolve? Why did we evolve different? Why did white people evolve to have better IQs, in your opinion?
Whites are number 4 in IQ.
Huh?
They're not the top. White are number 4 in the IQ rank.
I know, but why do you
pick whitey?
Because I'm white and it's easy.
So nobody's perfect, man.
And it's the one I know. I know that Nigerians are the top in America.
In Africa.
In Africa, I thought in America they're the ones with the highest
Ashkenazi
IQ.
Jews are number 1.
No, I thought it was. I thought it was
Nigerian. The studies you look
because of America's immigration policy, they only take the best.
But the 111, 112 IQs you're quoting for Nigerians are still dwarfed by the top Ashkenazi Jews and the top Indians. Right? But that's beside the point. Can IQ change? Yes, it can. But the only way it can change is between generations of children.
So, but
there's no other scientific way for it to change.
Why did white people's IQ evolve better than
differently
black
is a better word. Divergent evolution.
Explain that to.
The Earth
Why?
the universe is 15 billion years ago, 4.9 billion years ago, the Earth creamed. 750 million years ago, we had the Cambrian explosion. Most of the species were created and died away. 6.2 million years ago, we split from chimps. 500,000 years ago, we had divergetory evolution. 10,000 years ago, after the last ice age, we had the conditions that created the modern society. Those genes kept evolving for the chimps in different environments.
What was it about the environment of the
because
white
the Earth
Western
is not
world?
regular.
No, I know, but what specifically about the environment in the white
Scarcity of
culture?
resources. So we can explain this genetically too. Scarcity of resources as measured by what is called time to wait. You know what time to wait is? Time to wait is called deferred gratification. So it's called the marshmallow test. If I give you a marshmallow now, I've said wait 5 minutes and you get 10 marshmallows. Now if I look at all different races and cultures and say how do they pass the marshmallow test, the people most willing to wait by 20% are the Scandis.
The Scandis?
The Scandinavians.
Okay.
If you then look at that and go the next to the German
why would they be more willing to wait when there's
because
less resources there?
No, because I'm giving you a simple test
really
today.
Cold.
I'm giving the genetic test today. I'm giving the marshmallow test.
So
it applies today.
today
they have the most ability of willing to wait, what's called deferred gratification.
And that's where inequality is one of the lowest.
Well, now you can see the genetic explanation right in front of your eyes.
No.
Clearly, if you were hunter-gathering in Iceland, you'd have to track and wait. Otherwise, you would not survive and replicate. Whereas you lived in India, Africa, you could eat everything bountiful. Willing to wait was not an evolutionary trait that would evolve. But in the snow-hard lands of the hinterlands, of course they develop willing to wait.
So willing
to wait or deferred gratification is a trait in the building that can be seen to have clear correlation between Northwestern cultures and not Northwestern cultures. It also shows up in the Japanese that also had hot bands. It's not just a white thing. It's an environmental trait that has replicated the genes through time. There's a modern version, can be double science blind verified, that willing to wait has a racial distribution. So now, I'm not making a moral judgment. I'm just observing that willing to wait is a genetic trait. The left and the social scientists, everyone under the cathedral dogma of we are all equal, saying, oh my God, how dare you consider differentiated trait? And we as scientists go, are you smoking crack? Of course we can see the studies.
Like I say, there's plenty of scientists that have debunked the bell curve, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, good Lord, I don't know a single one. Any
you don't know
degree.
any?
No, at any advanced degree stage, I wouldn't be laughed out of town.
Really?
So,
I didn't quite understand the bit about the Scandinavian hunter-gatherers.
okay, so willing to wait.
Why would they have to wait?
Because the only way they would survive in their genes is they would have to hunt and track difficult animals in the icy cold. You can't run up in the Serengeti and just as a hunter pack, you can't run up and kill the buffalo.
I don't see any difference between tracking a buffalo and tracking a mammoth.
Because if you have
tracking an elephant,
because if you have
mammoth.
tons of resources, natural food and stuff, the skill set is much lower than hunting where there's only a few creatures.
I mean, that's so speculative.
It could be. No, he was asking the speculative reason.
Because they're just doing exactly this. Yeah, I mean,
He's asking the speculative reason, but we see that the time willing to wait gene is clearly present in the gene.
Yes, I know, but it's such a.
So, but my question to you is this:
my
question is why is it contentious? Because it doesn't challenge some fundamental idea you have at your heart of egalitarianism?
No.
So why is it contentious?
I didn't say contentious, it's tendentious.
Oh, tendentious.
It's
Sorry.
yeah.
I don't know, but so why?
It's very weak to say
Well,
if you hunt an elephant, you
Well,
get
with these we don't know.
if you hunt a mammoth, you don't.
No, we don't know these things because we have no historical record.
Yeah.
But all we do know is the gene code that has now. And if I conducted a modern science test, the marshmallow test is failed by every non.
So it's not proven then. It's.
but
Well, I know what
it's
proof
not
means
failed by
mathematically. We'll talk about proof in a minute.
That was the other thing. Well, I'm kind of.
No, go on.
I was talking to him earlier. I don't know if you remember. We're talking about 100 black, brown, white, and they all have a race.
Yeah, there's lots.
And you said like the top 9 would all be black. But I don't think that's right.
Well, okay, let's look at the Olympic round. How many non-white people are winning the Olympics?
But the Olympics is different.
How about Kenyan middle distance running?
No. But this is a mistake you made. I failed.
Go ahead.
If you could just listen to me for a second.
No worries.
That's what you're taking is 100 of the fastest people from each race.
Right.
That's a different thing from taking 100 people at random. If you took 100 people at random, it's maybe slightly lightly, there was a sort of slight odds in favour of the winner might be a black guy, but by no means certain.
But that's not an argument against, because what you argue is if I take a spatial distribution of numbers, and I take people as a random scatter, I get a random result.
Yes.
But if I took people at the end of the curve, I took the slowest runners, and I took the fastest runners, I'd see what the peak is.
But no one no one measures the slowest
But here's
runners
the
in
point.
Jamaica.
No.
one measures the slowest people anywhere.
Yes.
Mention cool running.
What you were saying, if you remember the argument, you said this idea that there's more variation within one race than between two races. You said that wasn't true, and it was debunked. But in fact, the argument I was trying to make was, in that race, you find some black people very slow, some are fast, same for white, same for black. Be a huge
You have
spread.
a distribution. A distribution.
Yes, a spread,
yeah.
and it'll be from the slowest black to the fastest white, or vice versa. It's all but the same.
Oh, you mean okay? I didn't quite understand. So
And you're going to have everything.
So you're saying if I
between.
took all black runners, I looked at the variation in black running speed between the black.
Of these random hundreds.
But let's say I took the full, all of them. So I had a full population size.
Yeah.
A full population sample, I would expect a long tail curve. Right? I'll expect some are super fast and the rest fall. So it wouldn't be a Gaussian curve, it would be more like a long tail curve. Because that's a curve that shows up for any such things, right? Musicians, artists, anything has a distribution which shows a long tail. The presence of a long tail distribution is not the same as saying there's a differential between two different populations. So if you're arguing now the variation between and within...
What I'm saying, and this is what everyone's saying, basically, if you want to judge people, using race is a foolish way to do it because you'll be wrong most of the time. A much better way is to judge them on their, abilities or their knowledge.
But I have never said, nor do I make the claim that I should judge any person by a single attribute, not a coarse attribute like race or gender.
But you were going to explain what you were going to use this information for.
So what we are trying to do for the last 20 years is to say, because it's a political problem. Because since the 60s, academia has been infected by the left, and they have therefore not allowed explanations that could help solve the problem be admitted. That day is over as the left retreats and the global experiment is running out for us to say, hang on, which things have explanatory powers? If you look at the Chinese, they don't have this liberalism problem in the West. They're racing ahead in genetics. They're racing ahead because they're saying, hey, I don't have a lot of lefties in China going, hey, one world. Kumbaya, let's smoke one.
No, it's because...
So the Soviets and the Chinese are racing ahead in this research because they don't have a social stigma.
Well, it's because they
what research?
Genetics.
Yeah, but
they have less...
Anthropology, biology, genetics.
But they have less regulations in places like China. Here, we're not allowed
but they're still going to be peer reviewed by the West.
But they're allowed to test on a lot more,
Correct. They don't have a political correctness climate preventing the explanation that clearly both of you gentlemen, for example, find very uncomfortable even to listen to.
No, I'm listening.
But you feel uncomfortable with it.
I don't find it uncomfortable. I just think lots of things you're saying, I don't think that's true either. Researching genetics, most of it is looking at illness.
Correct.
That's the most important thing.
For now, yeah.
And yes, but I mean, the amount of genetic research being done in America and Britain, I would argue is much more than that being done in Russia. Maybe
China is now accelerating, right?
China has a huge number of people.
Are you a biologist?
No. But
are you a scientist? I mean?
No. But I read,
You what, sorry?
I read stuff.
I don't care if you're an autodidact at all. I'm
pretty sure the world, the best universities are in America. The leader in medical research, and obviously genetics is a big chunk of medical research, is America. So I think this idea that because we have this, leftist Marxist idea, we're not researching genetics.
That's correct.
Just
so my major.
No, I don't think that's true.
I'm just giving you a whole lot of evidence that that's not true. That there's main centre of research, the most effective research. China might outdo us in numbers.
China's catching up. Yeah, it's still the US and the West.
Yes, okay.
Oh, I'm not disputing that.
Yes, but sir,
but you
say the Marxists are stopping us, doing
because they're trying to get to
and
this.
then you say, actually, America is the world
maybe
leader.
you misunderstood me. That's my fault. Let me apologize. The Marxists control the media and academia. They don't control scientific research.
Yes.
What they've tried to do is walk up to the door of the science department. What they won't allow is it to be published. I can give you examples after example that had a very elite
When you
education.
say Marxist, you mean cultural Marxists?
Right. Postmodernists.
Because, do you know anything about...
Postmodernism?
what's his name? Charles Murray? who
Charles Morris,
wrote
yeah.
the Bell Curve?
Yeah, I met him once, yeah.
You met him?
Yeah.
So what were his reasons for doing that research?
Purely scientific inquiry.
Pure scientific.
He was labelled as a racist, he's not. He had a good time, I had a good time with him.
Yeah?
Not racist at all.
No? Well, no, but like lots. I've never heard a racist say, yes, I'm a racist.
No, here's the problem, right? So we mentioned postmodernism. We are living at the long tail end of the liberal neoliberal experiment. The cathedral, from our reaction, right, we declared the cathedral to be the media, academia, government, and business, are maintaining their hegemony of power by a dogma of equalitarianism. The only thing you can't question is the dogma of equalitarianism.
People question it all the time.
I have to
Like, what are you talking about?
Good luck trying to get the New York Times to write you an article on race and IQ. Good luck.
We're saying business is promoting egalitarianism.
Yeah.
I mean, big business is mostly the Republican Party. That they're not promoting egalitarianism.
No, they're not the
They're promoting the exact opposite.
No. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a problem for both the left and the right to attack the globalists. The populist movement for Trump, Brexit, AFD is a populist resurgence against the globalist norm.
Populist.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right.
But I'm not a populist strictly.
but-
I'm a neo-actually absolutist, but that's a political conversation, but that's fine.
Well, it's
So,
but yes, but it's certainly not. I mean, it's just. I find when especially I listen to people like populists quite a lot. I mean, things like the big business is promoting egalitarianism.
It's not. There's a mistake.
No.
It is not. It's
The
not
media.
egalitarianism.
Yeah.
They're preaching equalitarianism,
All right.
which is not the same as equal rights. Why? Because they want, in the last 20, 30 years, they want the global supply chain and the global single thing to optimize profit. I spent a decade of my career in investment banking. I spent a decade of my career in investment banking. I know exactly how the system works. The system is there to optimize the profit value of capital.
Can I ask you?
It doesn't give a shit about you and I.
Yes, of course. But
Hence
but
Brexit.
Yes, but everyone knows, everyone would agree with that.
Do you know when you're getting your information from media sources? I imagine you take a range of left-wing sources and right-wing sources.
Well, yeah, I tend to look at data. So I tend to look at where the source of the data originated from.
So you
do a
fact
bias
check.
correction.
Yeah.
Not bias correct.
Yeah. So I met a guy yesterday outside the Holborn police station. I was waiting for James Goddard to come out of prison, jail.
Oh, really?
No, I wasn't waiting for him. I was there discussing with all the other fascists or people who don't realise that James Goddard is a fascist.
From the opposite side?
Yeah, from the opposite side. I do it a lot. I just go to Tommy Robinson events and debate with them and attempt to not get assaulted, which sometimes works.
Most of the violence will be from the left, but nevertheless, carry on.
I mean, if you say so. I don't see any left-wing people killing MPs or running down.
But let's
people
pause
with
that.
vans.
So you were there for James Goddard.
So I was speaking to this black guy, 21-year-old British guy. His parents were from Jamaica. He only reads or watches right-wing stuff. Everything.
He's
that
an
he was
echo
talking-
chamber.
Yeah, everything that he was talking
Same with
about.
the left, yeah.
He talked about something. You got that from Stefan Molyneux.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about South
Absolutely,
Africa
yeah. And
now?
the same
You got
with
that
the
from
left. Same with the
Lawrence
left.
Humphrey. It's not the same with me. I listen to it.
But you might be an exception.
I can recognise where people get all this information
Right,
from, and then I say, do you listen to anything on the left-hand side? And then they'll say, oh, I read the Guardian or the BBC every now and again. It's like, that's not really the left-hand side. That's the centrist side, and it's
that's not just the central side. That is the globalist side.
But, okay, well, this guy believed in the IQ thing, thought that I was more predisposed to be cleverer than him through my genetic makeup, and I asked him. So I imagine you got this off someone like Stefan Molyneux.
He's a clown. But yeah.
He is a clown, and he went to Poland, and he was like, "Oh, I'm an empiricist," and when I went there was no shouts of racism. There was no
no non-white people.
Well, this is his point, and and then he carried on, and he was like, "I'm not an ethno-nationalist." but I'm listening.
Yeah.
So, like, this is the effect, I think, that these sorts of studies
Echo chambers are
has
dangerous.
on people.
I don't believe in these sort of
echo-
studies. I don't believe. I'm not part of that at all. I'm too old to be part of that. But I can identify which echo chambers sit. And I can see the single threat we have. It's not a threat. It's natural evolution preparing for that conflict that's coming. That the left and right are in echo chambers. There's the English liberal.
I don't believe
when I was a
that's
child,
true.
I was an English liberal with Locke and Hume. And I believed in English liberal values. That liberal thing is squeezed to the middle, and there are very few liberals left because the left and right are heading for war.
I agree with that, but I believe
I know which side I'm on. I'm on the right side.
the right side. What, with the fascists?
Fascism.
With James Goddard, who
Can
wants
you
to put the
define what
left.
fascism is?
Yeah, I can actually.
Go ahead. Without using your phone.
Well, there's so Umberto Eco was a guy.
I've read his books. Yeah.
You've read his book, so you know that he was brought up under Mussolini. He won the Young Fascist Writer
but what's
Award
your
at the age
definition
of
of
10. You can't define fascism in one sentence because,
Why not?
like, how do you define capitalism?
Oh, I can. In one sentence, but I want to hear your. You keep calling people fascists.
So,
as soon as someone calls someone a fascist, I want to know what they mean.
So
use the word. What is a fascist?
Out of all the fascist movements around the world, Umberto Eco studied all of them and worked out there was 14 characteristics that they all share. There's a the cult of tradition. They're against progressive ideas. There's misogyny, action for action's sake. Like I say, there's 14. I hate listing things off because I always get stuck on one and I'm thinking of one.
No, but because you're quick to judge, so I'm a quick to give you a definition.
I'll carry on. Out of the
Do you know
14,
the two strains
hold on, hold on, hold on.
fascism?
Out of the 14 characteristics that Umberto Eco set out, James Goddard fits every single one, and I can prove it.
Okay. So, do you know the two strains of fascism are? The two branches of fascism.
Go on.
Okay. Because I'm just curious, because you use the word fascism a lot. There are two types of fascism. There's ethno-fascism or clerical fascism. Ethno-fascism is the construction of a fascist state based on race.
Okay, so
clerical fascism is one based on religion. So Hamas are fascist, Hezbollah are fascist,
Yeah, I don't
the
doubt
BNP
that, yeah.
is fascist,
Yeah,
no,
I
not
agree.
anymore. National Front are fascist.
Yeah,
So fascism is
I
cross-racial, cross-cultural.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So it's either ethno-fascism or clerical fascism. I reject fascism because I'm much further right than a fascist.
You're much further right than
much
a fascist.
further right. God, good Lord, yeah. Right, yeah. Yeah, I'm a scientist.
So all scientists are more further
No,
right.
I'm a Christian scientist, right? Yeah.
Do you not think that's a bad position to be
Why?
further right than a fascist?
Good Lord, yeah, fascists were idiots.
But being further, so you can. So let's say you've got.
they're not- it's
so let's say you've
fascism.
got UKIP here, who aren't fascists.
Yeah, they're not. They're civic nationalists.
Yeah, they're just. I think that's to me that's the furthest right you can be acceptably go.
In the Overton window, we are shifting.
So
For the last 10 years, further right
no,
every
I know
day.
it has, I know
Yeah,
it has.
yeah.
So to the further right is fascism, which is bad. But then if you
That's a moral judgment.
but then if you go past fascism,
Right. What do you get after fascism?
this is.
I mean,
I'm asking you. The
No,
question.
because you're very quick to use words like labels and fascism. I appreciate, no disrespect, you don't understand fascist writing. What is further
don't
than fascism?
understand fascist
Well,
writing.
you couldn't define fascism, and you can tell me the two strains of fascism.
I don't
So
think
you
can,
called someone a fascist.
I don't think you can define.
I just did it for you.
No, you didn't.
Okay, so the two. Do you know what unites fascism?
The-
Two strains: ethno-fascism and clerical fascism. That says we require, grounded in the
You
state
just
of
told me the
nation.
differences between two types
So
of
allow me-
fascism.
allow
You
me-
didn't
allow me.
define
Okay,
fascism
so
as a
let me
whole.
give you a simple example of definition of fascism. Fascism believes that the ordering of society must come from a unity collection based on a state of nature that organizes around an unalienable principle. There are only two strains: ethno-fascism, Mussolini, all of them, the Flange Party, Hamas, Hezbollah are clerical fascists. They believe in the order. Islam is a crypto-fascist structure.
Say your definition again, please.
So we believe in society ordered. Fascism is a weak implementation of this, and that's why I reject it. The idea that society should be ordered in a hierarchy, not an egalitarian system, and the unity that binds the hierarchy must be either ethnic, or people of the same race, or clerical. So Islam is the textbook definition of a crypto-fascist structure. Islam is a fascist structure. They believe in a theocracy based on religion in a hierarchy. Muslims are not equal.
No, they are. That's one of their big things. I mean, they have a caliph. Everything has to have a
Everything
leader.
has a caliphate leader. There's been 202
Yeah, that,
caliphates.
like,
the 203rd caliphate is trying to take the West.
They have one leader.
Yeah, okay.
It's every society.
No, but
has that.
a leader.
there's
No, but I mean a leader. I don't mean a
particularly
politically
well-known
elected leader.
egalitarian
I mean a
people.
leader as in and I'll tell you what's more right than fascism, I'll lead into it, a leader that is sovereign. So I'm a neo-reactionary absolutist, right? I believe in hierarchy that is absolute. Right? I reject this liberal enlightenment idea that all things are equal. Nothing is equal, right? I believe difference is good. Difference creates binding forces that leads to progress.
Yes.
I believe it's degenerative egalitarianism.
Just holding back here. If you're saying having one sovereign leader makes you a fascist, that yes, every monarchy.
No, I didn't say one thing is a fascist. No. Yeah. So if you plot the political compass, you go further right. You have my fascists, my Sikh Highlanders, right? Yeah. Okay. They were just a 20th century implementation of reactionary thinking. If you look deep into reactionary writing, if you go all the way to the esoterics, and you go even further right, neo-reactionary absolutism is the furthest right you can go, which is where I sit. I believe in one world order based on the principles of science, based on the principles of Christ, and based on the principles that are best. Yeah, I'm Christian.
Yes. So that's your clerical fascism right there.
I told you I reject fascism being too left-wing for me. I keep reiterating my point. I don't believe all gods are equal.
So what's the difference between your like ideology and the clerical fascism?
It's even more right.
But in what sense? How?
Okay, so let me explain. So the Journal of Neo-Reactionary Absolutism, philosophically, we define, we reject the Enlightenment, we reject the liberal values, we reject the deep state, because we believe it's not grounded in nature. There's a man and a woman, I assume, are a couple. They are not equal. Not, okay. Brothers, siblings. Yeah. They met on the bus.
When you assume you make an ass out of just yourself.
Lucky, aren't you? Okay. So, that was a joke, come on. So, if you look at that, we do not believe in equity, equality. We reject these things as being impositional structures of the mind. They're not rooted in the state of nature. The state of nature is one that says what is real must be described by a realistic mechanism of description. That is the trinity of maths, physics, and computing. That is science. Grounded in science, we create our societies in order from our biology, and we ask the question, what is the optimal ordering of the world? Let me give you a simple example. There's 7 billion chimps right now. By 2050, the world population stabilizes at 10 billion chimps. What does it look like? I'm half Indian. India and China will have 55% of the board. Strong ethno-states, no one's coming in. Whitey is left with 850 million people on the board, with 2.5 billion sub-Saharan Africans racing in. Thanks, Merkel. And
which will help pay for our pensions.
Right. So what would a neo-reactionary absolutist like to see the world as? We would like to see the world ordered like the trees of a branch, strong ethno-states with slight difference, operating under a single order to progress all of humanity upwards. Egalitarianism is like the second law of thermodynamics. It's trying to take every difference and flood it all out into this nihilistic society, as Nietzsche predicted.
So where do you fit in? Do you say you're half Indian?
I'm half Indian.
So where do you fit in this ethno-nationalist?
Oh, I'm simply a servant of Her Majesty's realm and any absolutist cause.
Can I just ask?
So you're exempt from this ethno-nationalist?
No, I'm a servant of it.
Yeah. What do you mean a servant?
I exist to serve it.
As
this hallowed ground, this realm, this earth, this England, right? That means something to me.
Have you ever thought that you might be too smart
for anything in particular?
To be safe.
Safe from others or safe to others?
To others.
I've never had a restraining order. I've never been sectioned, and I run a successful startup. So far I've got away with it, man. Do you think I'm dangerous? Like, my ideas are dangerous. So.
I mean, to think that being further right than a fascist is better than a fascist.
Correct.
I'm just
more
trying
right.
to tease out what it actually means.
So if you look at fascism is just a political system with a cultural component, right? It's a political way of organizing with a cultural component. Which is either
that actually work being further right than fascism?
I believe that we should return to a state of nature. We should not lie about the difference between men and women, races, cultures, and class. And grounded in that honesty and truth, we should organize a society that maximizes the best for all. It doesn't try to do that by making everyone equal. You're not equal to me, neither are you. The two of you might know each other well and you're not. And to pretend that there's this egalitarian liberal idea of equity is just a corruption of Locke and Hume and everyone else. We are not equal. You're not like me, right? I'm not like you.
But yeah, but don't focus on celebrating differences. but you don't treat people differently.
I never mentioned we treat people differently.
No, but
So-
I mean, we optimize people according to what they are. So if let's take a simple example, if women are better at something than men, then women should be empowered to be better at what they do.
Yeah.
If a black person is better than a white person at something, they should be empowered to do that better. We should not
What
pretend
about
they're equal.
system?
Yeah, that's why I'm far more right than a fascist. Fascists pretend that they exist in an equity within an ethno-clerical structure. It's flawed intellectually. I mean, we can debunk that quite clinically.
Can I just ask, in this sort of this utopian state you go have, who's going to run
Come on
it?
in, huh?
Who's going to run it?
So the German historian, one of the greatest German historians at the turn of the century is Spengler. And Spengler was really good at predicting, just like Nietzsche before him and Schopenhauer, states of affairs that came to be true. And Spengler he actually predicted that about this time we would see the emergence of what he called neo-Caesarism, where leaders would show up that were autocratic and strong and would work against the system. Trump is an example, Salvini is an example, Bolsonaro an example, where the right leaders would start stepping up. They would be despised, they would be hated, they would threaten the status quo, but they would herald the arrival of the final next generation of leaders who are the ones best. Let me give you an example. If you had a heart attack today, I wouldn't want an egalitarian approach to find a heart surgeon. I'd want the best heart surgeon. My lawyer, I work at a tech startup, I don't want a shit lawyer. I want the best fucking IP lawyer on the planet.
Yes,
I mean,
but that's confusing the idea of same and equal. No one's saying everyone's...
To take the lady's point there, yeah.
No one's saying everyone's the same.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you're mistaking difference for
rights and,
equal, being equal.
I'm not confusing difference for equal.
Differences.
I'm stating the
Everyone
claim
knows
that
we are different.
Correct.
But we are all worth the same. Like,
Well, so then we have to explore the concept of value and worth. So let me give you some example. If you and I went to the same job tomorrow and you put in half the work, are you worth the same to the employer?
not to the employer, but
Correct.
as
So
my
the metric
life,
is the
my
employer.
life
Yeah.
is worth the same as yours.
But that is your subjective experience of your first person
No,
self.
if
It's
you
a
go-
neoliberal idea.
No. If you go against that, then that starts
Yes, I
putting people
reject
in
it.
supremacy,
hierarchy.
in hierarchy,
Yeah.
where blacks become better
Look
than whites.
around this park. That tree has a hierarchy in nature by about 400 million years of evolution. That shrub hedge over there is not like that. They
Yeah,
are
but-
different. Am I saying that should be treated equally? No, I'm not. Do they both
Evolutionary
have the right to
biology-
exist? Yes, they do.
Evolutionary biology is much different from
You are a product
cultural
of
and
evolutionary
society.
biology. That's all you are.
Yeah, but
I know everyone's going at you, but how do you decide
You call
whether
this
the
going at
tree
me?
or the bush is most important? You know, who if you, who
yeah, there's
deserves
things
State
that
to
of
think
nature,
live,
the
deserves
state
to
of
die?
nature says precisely that. More precisely in biology, it says mutually reciprocal symbiosis. They both
So
need
they're both
to.
as
The fox
important
needs
as-
the chicken, and the chicken needs the fox.
yeah, so they're both equally important,
They both exist.
but they're different.
No, your instinctive search for equality is your neoliberal programming. You want to be the same. You
No, I
want to
don't
be
want
treated the
to.
same. You want equal rights.
It's-
This
if
is
you-
a
if you-
fundamentally
it's-
selfish
no,
gene
because when you don't-
expressing itself.
When you
Right?
promote your ideas,
Yeah.
it lends to supremacy of particular races.
No, it leads to hierarchy.
No, because
Yes,
people.
but
I
like you
want
said,
a better
like-
surgeon.
Like
I
you
don't
said
want
earlier,
the
on the
equal
bell curve,
surgeon.
some people are dumb and some people are smart.
Correct.
The dumb people are going to look at it and think, "Oh, this guy's saying that black people
And
are."
here's
are
where
worse off
here's
than-
why the right is
How-
brilliant. In a Christian theocratic sense of the right, it is a moral compunction and duty to care and love for those at the bottom, not to make them think they are equal. They are equal under Christ.
I
They're
feel
equal
your
as a living
problem,
life form.
sir, is that
Right?
you haven't really studied any history.
More than you might think.
If you have a
But-
hierarchy
Yes.
and someone decides this life is more important than that life,
Yes.
it always goes
Yeah,
bad.
you're
And
confusing.
the only
You're
thing that's
confusing
really
a
worked-
tyranny and oppressive hierarchy
Yes,
from a
but
benevolent
there's never been a
meritocracy.
benevolent.
But what if
there's
this
never been a benevolent hierarchy. That's
Okay,
my
there's
point.
never been good health, medicine. There's never been many things. Our hope is to reach for the stars.
No, but
I
if you
would wish it to
compare
be that
any
way.
society, the best society by far is the kind of liberal society that's based on not everyone being the same, but everyone having equal rights, like equal votes.
Nietzsche predicted and rejected that out of hand. He said
but Nietzsche
but Nietzsche in the
was
genealogy moral said, when we get an egalitarian liberal state that he predicted, we will result in nihilism. Literally from the Latin of nihil
Nostradamus
to
predicted
nothing.
9/11.
No,
Like,
but
what's that got to
not
do with
crank
anything?
stuff. Nietzsche. So Nietzsche said nihilism will emerge in a nihilistic society. Look at all of us now. We live in a nihilistic society. A society of nihil, of nothing. I care about my job, my food, my clothes, my little coat, my phone.
I'm a nihilist, and I care about lots more shit
you're
than
lost.
that.
So you have no
I'm
meaning
lost.
and value and purpose informed from something higher than you are.
I think you're lost in this
I'm searching.
super
I'm not lost.
rational logic that you think you have.
I reject rationality out of hand as being
reject
subservient.
rationality?
No, it's being subservient to a higher order. Reason is limited, right? Reason Kant said, unequivocally Kant said in Critique of Pure Reason, I can argue using reason for the existence of God, I can argue using reason for the lack of God. Reason is fundamentally limited.
No, but
So, I mean, what do you tell me
Well,
reason is enough?
I don't.
Sorry,
you
go.
go.
this is madness. It's just madness.
Thanks ever so much.
You're
No,
like
the
a
thing
mad
is, I
scientist.
don't.
Do you know the
I
difference
don't
between insanity and
disagree.
genius is, mate? Results. Anyway,
I don't disagree with a lot of what you're
you
saying.
strike me as a good Christian girl.
I'm not Christian.
Oh, damn, but we can change that.
I'm not keen. But what I'd just like to understand what your right-wing values are. Your conservative, like why are you?
Well, they are stemmed from the belief that better comes
Hierarchies
through.
need to-
No, deeper than that. They stem that we must not have just truth and freedom. They must be nested in meaning and purpose. And that meaning and purpose is given to us. In my case, as a Christian, if I was an atheist, I would do it a different way. And I know atheists in the same position as me. That the meaning and purpose and value is what requires to be nesting freedom. Freedom unconstrained is nihilism. You just serve
So-
yourself.
I don't serve
So
myself.
there's no
I'm a
meaning and
nihilist.
purpose and everything else that gives you a nested value proposition. And the nested value proposition is fundamentally hierarchical, subsumptive. So I believe in a better world. I want people to be better. I want my black brothers to be empowered. I want everyone to be empowered for a better world. And that cannot come from freedom alone, because that's part of a symmetrical relationship of rights without responsibilities. And the neoliberal experiment has been my rights, my rights, my rights, my rights, my rights. Not
you
my
don't
responsibilities,
think-
my responsibilities, my
do you
responsibilities.
Do you disagree with feminist campaigns? Do you disagree with civil rights?
I believe feminism is dangerous for women because it conflates a Marxist oppressive narratives with the freedoms for women. I believe in the
Sorry,
freedom.
repeat that.
I believe in the empowerment of women.
Yes.
But I believe Marxist narratives like feminism are not good to empower women. All metrics and studies show that
How do you
women
empower
now,
women without
if you look
feminism?
at the sexual market value of women, if you look at the birth rates in single parent families, and you look at the last studies from last year, most women are unhappier than they've ever been. So no, they
So
have
are men.
no,
And men.
no.
And men
Look it up
included.
yourself. Have you look at these
Relate
stuff?
that to men.
Yeah.
Absolutely as well, both sides, and that is a byproduct of nihilism.
But we're talking
Rights-
about feminism.
No, I'm talking about
But
feminism.
you're saying
Rights,
that
rights,
feminism-
rights.
but-
Don't give me responsibility.
No, hold on. You just said that women are less happy because of feminism.
But not just feminism,
why,
but the
then
entire
why are men
nihilism.
less
Most
happy?
women are not feminists. Only about 8 to 9% of women are feminists. Most women reject feminism.
Only 89%.
8 or 9. Oh. Yeah, most women reject feminism out of hand.
No,
I'm not sure that's
Check out the data yourself.
No.
You'll find
In
out
the UK,
I'm a
that's
geek.
where-
I just live in
But
data.
how
man.
many of the people say don't know?
Sure.
Tiger.
How many of the women said don't know? So 9%
No, it's-
say they
I've
are,
done
and
this
then maybe
honestly,
10%
it's
say
not
they
what
aren't.
it
Oh, well,
and
up to you guys.
80% say
But
they don't
feminism,
know.
what is
This
feminism? But what
you're-
is feminism,
but
right?
you're
So-
a computer scientist. You should be
I
being clearer in the
Feminism's
stats that
not-
you're giving out.
Okay,
When
sure.
you say 8%,
Hey,
you're not
we're at
giving
Speaker's
the-
Corner.
you
If we
need-
stand in front of a
no, but-
computer, I can give you all the data. I live in data, that's fine. But the point here nevertheless remains that feminism does not serve the female being. The female.
Why? That's not
It does
true.
not. It really doesn't.
Feminism.
It really doesn't. You're going to explain how.
You've made the claim.
Oh, okay, no, I wasn't sure. I thought, hey, I'd take some heat off me, man. I've been here for a while. No, why? Because what is feminism? Do you know the intellectual roots of feminism? Feminism is an oppression narrative that says men in the patriarchy. I'm a fully card-carrying,
in a quotation
signed up.
marks?
I'm a signed-up
Patriarchy.
member, card-carrying, lifelong member of the patriarchy.
You are.
I am. So feminism says there's an oppression narrative that men in the patriarchy are systemically oppressing women. Where did that thought come from? Who invented it? It's quite easy. If you've studied philosophy and history well enough, you know that it came via Marx and Hegel. It's a pollution of Hegel and Marx. What did Hegel say? Hegel said, life and changes of forces, there exists a thesis, and that thesis has an antithesis, an antithesis. And by the clash of the thesis and the antithesis, I create something new by synthesis. This is Hegelian. This is the Hegelian dialectic, right? No. Actually, the original. So I don't bother with Wikipedia. That stuff is cunningly hidden in Hegel's text.
that stuff's on
but the chirping from the side is cute. You can have your turn next. That Hegel dialectic was taken by Marx. Marx looked at it in 1848, and we traced the Hegelian dialectic in Marx. He decided that the thesis and antithesis was oppressive. So historical materialism and dialectical materialism is a Marxist theory that says when two forces clash and one is above the other, that is an oppressive force. Now, if you look at first generation, first wave feminism, think of where we are, right? The suffragettes and everyone escaping from their position, I admire and respect deeply, because men and women had a tremendous inequity in position. They did a good job. Third wave feminism and second wave feminism is a pure Marxist intersectional dialectic, which is intellectually nonsense, is dangerous and damaging to women, and it should be defeated by force.
Explain. Making opinions. You're giving opinions.
Yeah.
How is it doing that?
Is
there data there?
No, first I was giving you the...
This is you stopping at level 6 again when we want you to go all the way to the
No rush,
bottom.
I tell you what happened. So, now
You
that
said it's oppression, everything. How? Explain now. Like, what's the explanation?
So now that we understand all thoughts don't exist in a vacuum, explanations don't exist in a vacuum, now that we understand the intellectual history of how we got to feminism in its current state, we can see that the feminist narrative is that men are oppressing women, and the liberation of women, how are you, man? Peace. And the idea that the oppression narrative is something that women need to liberate themselves from is fundamentally against the state of nature.
How?
Because men and women are not the same.
Okay.
And men are not oppressing women. The wage gap is a joke. Right?
So you've jumped a bit here.
No, I'm just giving examples of the feminist narrative, like the wage gap. That's a joke, right? It's a mathematical joke.
Are you asking me or telling me?
I'm telling you because I know it is.
Why is it a joke?
Because if you look at the 22 statistical factors from... I worked in investment banking for a decade.
Okay.
If you look at the data for all 4 wages and you put them in the 22 factors that
jumping
control...
to a lot of different... So
Well, I can do that. I can slow down.
Right? What was
Yeah. So
what's
there's
against
2
the-
threads. Do you wanted the example or you wanted the theory? I'm happy to do either.
So you said feminism is a theory that says that...
What do you think feminism is?
Hold on, you give me the opinions, we have to analyse what you're saying.
No, but I'm going to ask you because I wouldn't gauge what your intentions and opinions are. So what do you define
I don't have any
feminism?
intentions. I'm questioning your claims.
No,
You're
but
saying...
I'm questioning back. What do you define as feminism?
But it's not a competition. It's just we're talking about...
It's a dialogue. You've asked me a lot of questions.
We're having a dialogue. You've made statements. There's no explanation to this.
It's not utopia here.
So if you look at the intellectual epistemological threads, I've explained the history of feminism intellectually.
From a Marxist Hegelian...
That's where it came from. Right?
Okay.
There's no doubt about that if you've read enough. Not Wikipedia, the real stuff.
Okay.
If you read the
I'll
real
take
stuff
your
and you
word
see where it is,
Yeah.
and then you look at that, you say, what does that materialize? Or what would the left like to call? What's the manifest observable behavior, right, of that phenomenon today? Because there's a left-wing thing I'm talking about. The manifest observable behavior is a political movement that seeks to empower women against a oppressive force. Call it the patriarchy, whatever you want. And how does it do so? It tries to look at equality of outcome,
Rather than
it looks at the
equality of
difference,
opportunity.
equality of outcome,
This is the
and claims
Pearson,
it's oppressive. But I worked for 10 years at Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. If we run the
Why is that
data,
relevant?
because if we have access to the world's data, that's why. So I look at the data of
world's
every
data.
single job and every single company, because you have to be in an investment bank
From a
somewhere.
financial perspective, yeah.
Money, right?
That's one aspect of society.
But the wage gap is the financial claim.
Well,
But you keep jumping in and you're not following the thread. We are talking about, let me
We
replay
can
the
follow your
thread.
thread if you want to not be interrupted.
No,
in
I'd
question.
like to. Yeah, but if you interrupt me, I'm going to ask you questions back.
But
What's
you've
not going to happen is
qualified
you're
your
not going
expertise by
to
saying you work for
interrupt me and
Goldman
ask me
Sachs.
questions without answering mine. You're happy to ask, but I'm going to ask you questions back.
I'm not making any claims. You're standing here saying
you
feminism
don't have
is
to make a
a
claim.
bad force. You have to justify your
But
claim.
You don't have to
I
make
haven't made any claims.
But you don't have to make a claim for me to ask you a question. You have to
I can
continue the
refuse to
conversation.
I'm not. The onus isn't on me to explain myself. You're making statements about
But
feminism.
you're making a
We're
lot of
We're cross-examining you.
Okay, but I'm saying you don't have the
You've
right.
made- basically, you've
Only
made, like,
I will
big
grant you that
statements.
right
We want
without
an
it being
explanation.
bidirectional, right? Because I'm very far right.
Okay, that's fine. Your political question is fine, but just explain the point.
So let's carry on again. So we have an intellectual thread that says there's oppression in female narrative.
Yeah.
We look for phenomenological existences of that in the modern world of feminism.
Okay.
The wage gap is one. I could pick many others. I could pick a ton of statistics.
Yeah.
I chose banking and finance because I'm from that background.
Sure.
And if you look at the data, you can do it statistically. There's 22 control factors for the wage gap.
Yeah.
Only one of them is gender.
Yeah.
Feminists say, fuck that shit. It's the patriarchy. They're coming to get us. Everything else, that does not show up statistically in the data.
Yeah.
So you have a feminist left-wing oppression narrative running counter to a factual or counterfactual to data narrative, which is why feminism is wrong and bad for women. It is denying them the truth and they refuse to look at it. So my mate at the BBC did the same thing for the BBC data, and the BBC did not want to publish it. All they wanted was equality of outcome to be neutralised.
I don't think
that is a political stance. It is not a scientific stance.
I hear the right talking about equality of outcome a lot, and that's
not the real right. We don't care about equality of outcome.
No. I hear the right suggesting that the left all care about equality of outcome.
They do.
I don't think they do. The left care about equality of opportunity, and when you have women less likely to get jobs because they might get pregnant in the next couple of years, then that's not equality of opportunity, which is what the left wants, not equality of outcome. We want equality of opportunity.
Once more.
So another way that there's a difference between equality of opportunity and outcome is if you hand in two CVs that are exactly the same and they have one white normal
John Smith versus Abdul Karim.
Okay. John Smith is more likely to get the job because of
in the white
cultural
society.
racism that exists.
In every nation.
So again, there's not equality of opportunity between different races, and that's what the left wants. So
no, they don't.
No, we do. So we don't want.
You finally said we. I was waiting for that magical moment.
I'm not going to deny that.
I know it's fine. I'm aboard.
So we don't see people calling for we must give black people more jobs. It's we must give black people more opportunities to jobs. So if there's 3 people on a shortlist for a job out of 100, they generally have to pick one minority.
A token black or a token Indian or a token...
Yeah, you can call it a token, I guess.
Yeah. And that is a dangerous and stupid idea.
Because then they have to choose between the 3.
Yeah, but it's dangerous
it doesn't instantly give them the job. It gives them the opportunity.
I'm not saying it does. I'm saying the precept is dangerous and stupid.
No, but it's to counteract the cultural racism that exists.
And there's the master coming along, but this is the exact problem, because what you're trying to do is trying to do a top-down plan version.
I'm trying to see the problem, which is we don't have equality of opportunity, and how do you solve that problem? Give people who don't have who are being oppressed by the equality of opportunities, give them slightly more of a head start in the opportunity.
Right.
So it's not outcome, because they still might not get the job.
I believe that's a completely flawed precept.
But it's not equality of outcome. It's equality of opportunity.
I think equality of opportunity is a completely flawed precept.
Well, that's fair enough. But can we stop tarring the left as we all want equality of opportunity?
I don't want to tar the left, I want to destroy them.
But I
don't want to tar them.
I'm on the left, I know a lot of people from the left wing and they don't believe that.
Yes, I am.
All right.
I have to hire startup engineers. I don't want to hire people equally. I want to hire the best people.
Oh yeah, but that is equality.
I don't want them to have equal opportunity. I want the best people.
Oh yes, but choosing the best.
Correct, the best. Just like if you had a heart operation, you don't want this guy, no disrespect, you're probably not a heart surgeon. I don't want this guy or me to operate your heart. I want the best fucking doctor on the planet.
And there'll be some people who will say, I want the best, but I don't want a Jew doing it, or I don't want a Muslim doing it, or I don't want a woman doing it.
That's just in-group preference.
No, but that's where
in-group preference.
But that's where
in-group preference.
But that's
biology.
But that's
you
where
don't mind that.
But that's where
it's natural and real. These boys have got in-group preference. They're together. It's natural and real.
Yeah,
nothing
but
wrong with
doesn't that work against getting the best? That works against getting the
best for them. And other people should have the best for them. You're not equal to you hang on with your own boys.
I'm not agreeing, but I'm just following what you mean.
Yeah. I'm not saying you have to agree, but I'm just saying there's nothing normal, it's natural. So they must unite under Islam, unite under Christ, and you can unite difference under.
They're not even together. That guy just walked off.
I don't know. I could have picked these two over here. Hello. Yeah, I could pick anyone.
Right? That seems a recipe for war and oppression.
Conflict is common.
So this all started when you kind of took offence that I kept talking about. I kept talking about fascism. You were like, oh, you keep mentioning this word a lot.
I only took offence because you mentioned something I don't believe you understood. That's all. Not offence personally, man.
No. But
I mean, I think
it was just interesting that you took it in a direction that I never.
Because you know it's so boring to hear people saying Nazi. You're like, do you know what a Nazi is? You can't be a Nazi and alive today.
I never called anyone a Nazi. So.
And when are you going to get it? Is that coffee that open, mate? Yeah.
So if we go back to the original point, then James Goddard.
Yeah, you want to drink? I'm going to take a quick break, man. Be here for now. I'll be back in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, no worries.
And we talk
Nice
about
Content over everything from your humanity. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
What are you guys talking about?
The JQ.
Oh, okay. The Jewish question. The Jewish question.
Okay.
You don't have to. They've got to come.
Jordan.
That's quite interesting.
You answered the question I asked
My
you.
wife will hate you.
Was in
He's the only man
regards
I
to
can hate with.
the decision to create Israel, and you gave the story about 1947.
So say that again.
I
What's the
guess
question? What's the question?
in regards to Jews, the Jewish